Oh, don't resist the change. Don't resist the change. The sooner you realize that everything is so fragile, I hope you understand. Don't resist the change. The sooner you realize that everything is so fragile, the sooner we realize that everything don't resist the change. The sooner you realize that everything is fragile, the sooner we realize that everything is fragile and it can be taken away, the sooner we all realize that everything is fragile. The experience, the entire experience is very fragile and can be taken away in a blink of an eye. And the sooner we realize all this, our suffering ends. So don't resist it. Don't try to cling on it. The sooner we realize, we all as humans, there's one root thing, that's one root cause of our suffering, that we bank on the experience, what we understand life. The experience is being generated because of the karma, if you understand, and is subject to change. Anything which is subject to change or changing quickly and promptly and rapidly is fragile, you understand. So this experience, whatever you understand as present moment, in this present moment, or excuse me, in this present moment in time, whatever the whatever the sense and perception, whatever the sense and perception are present, the sound of my voice, um, the physical experience, the entire three-dimensional reality that we are experiencing is in this present moment in time, and we understand as present moment is basically, if you look and you focus, um, and you go a little deep through your focus, you realize the experience is subject to change and is changing quickly and it is changing promptly. You see, anything which is changing quickly and changing promptly is subject to change, obviously, is fragile. The suffering starts when we try to cling. The suffering basically starts when we try to cling on something that we cannot cling on. You understand? When the three-dimensional reality, when the present moment is there, you see, look at it and consider it as a way to shed the karma. The entire three-dimensional experience, the present moment, basically is being generated because of the karma. We have talked about that. I have mentioned that before. The entire three-dimensional experience, what you understand as present moment, is being generated because of the karma. And look at this, don't get fascinated with the three-dimensional experience, the present moment, or what your comprehension of life is. Don't get too fascinated with it because it's changing. Do not resist the change. The very nature of life is change and is constantly changing. When we resist the change, Basically, we form attachments with what we have. You see, we say this is it, and right then and there, the process, right then and there, the process of our evolution as the process of our evolution as a spiritual being stops, and that's one of the main and significant purpose. Basically, that's one of the main and significant purpose to be in this experience. So if you want to grow spiritually, if you want to do something about your well-being, it's the same thing. You must learn not to resist the change. People get scared of the change. You see, they live in this three-dimensional reality and they form attachments and they call it life. But I can assure you, this is not life. Life is the energy, basically, which is manifesting and is changing all the time. But people get fascinated from attachment and they say this is it. You see, they form and they say this is it. They form a cocoon around them. They form a cocoon around them of the safety. If there is a deviation, if there is a bend, have you heard the word bend? If there is a deviation, if there is a bend in the circumstances, the the way they look at life, if there is a change, it basically threatens them psychologically, and that's where the suffering starts. You see, I see human, and I see that how they are functioning. Basically, um, it's not a judgment; it's an observation. If you understand what I'm saying, it's not a it's not a judgment, is basically an observation, because I see it reflects that how they carry, it reflects in their communication, it reflects what they post on social media, it reflects, basically they have totally confused the three-dimensional experience uh, with life. uh, the three-dimensional experience is given to you so you can do something about, to transcend your karma. You understand? So look at the present moment, look at the three-dimensional experience as an opportunity for you to change the karma. When you have that, when you acquire that kind of mind frame, basically when you acquire that kind of awareness, in this step, in this moment in time, in this step, I would say acquire that kind of awareness. In reality, you do not acquire no awareness. Awareness is always there, basically. But sadly and unfortunately, we are cluttered. So sadly and unfortunately, we are cluttered, so we cannot see correct, so we cannot see clearly. There is mist and there is fog. There is the mist of lies. Most of us humans throughout the globe, for the most part, I'm not saying um, all the time, but for the most part, are raised, unfortunately, in lies, for the most part. What we learn through human domestication and conditioning, not all of it, some of it is necessary, but most of it is a lie. The whole edifice of knowledge, and we would not evolve until unless we challenge everything we have been given and handed over. If you understand what I'm saying to you, um, it's perfectly fine, of course, to function in the society and live in the society, but have the awareness and clarity that this is fragile. This is this can be changed, is subject to change, it can be taken away in a blink of an eye. You see, when you have that kind of awareness, again, when you acquire in this moment in time, I would say when you acquire that kind of awareness, it brings peace in you. Then you understand that life, this is not life and this is not it. Life does not end here. You see, and you use any change, anything which brings a little bit of problem, any change which brings a little bit of difficulty in us, any change which brings a little bit of a resistance, you see, in us, any change which brings it, which actually threatens the cocoon we have built around us, the safety net, um, anything, the cocoon we have. Look, look, all these things that we human have learned to call misery is not really misery. It's an opportunity to transcend your karma. You see, that's how a wise person thinks. That's how a sage thinks. When you acquire that kind of awareness, when you acquire that kind of perspective, you are at peace right then and there. Then there is no fear in you. Then you can see the transparency of things, if you know what I'm saying. Then you can see the transparency of things. Then you understand that this is not it. It does not end here. It goes on and on and on till I have transcended all the karma. You see, so the barriers, or some kind of barrier in the routine. That's the word I'm looking for in English. Some kind of barrier in the routine, some kind of friction in the routine, something which threatens the routine. Look at it as an opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity to transcend yourself to a point where there remains. Look at it as an opportunity to transcend yourself to a point where there remains nothing to transcend. I hope you are following me. Where there remains nothing to transcend. When there remains nothing to transcend, there remains just awareness, the boundless. Where there remains nothing to transcend, there remains no experience, there remains just boundless, there remains just limitless, there remains the Sakshi, the silent witness. You see, do you know what is silent? Shh. There remains nothing but the silent witness, the awareness. You see, just like the room. If you are sitting in a room trying to make you understand, this point is very significant. That's why yesterday, social media, I said basically that I intend to deliver the words of truth and wisdom today. This is very significant thing for you to understand, so your suffering ends, because you have learned to resist the change. Have you not noticed basically, if you are working somewhere and they hire a new person or some new policy, it reflects in you, or some new policy is being introduced to you, you are either unsure basically about the new person or the new policy. You have different type of concerns in your mind. I'm giving you an example. You have different type of fear in your mind. But if you do not draw conclusions basically, but if you do not draw conclusions, if you do not form opinions, if you just remain open to the change, you may realize that this was done for some good reason. You see, the moment you draw conclusions, the moment you form opinions, that's where you resist the change. So do not jump into the conclusions. It's a limitless sea of learning, it's a limitless sea of experience. So enjoy the process basically. Remain totally detached from the experience, which is your fundamental nature. Remain remain totally detached from the experience and yet fully involved in the experience. When I say detached, I'm not saying detached physically or mentally or psychologically. Detached means no matter what happens, what's happening, no matter what's happening around you is not affecting what's happening within you, because that's the maximum freedom. That's the maximum liberty. That what's happening within you must not be affected by what's happening around. What's happening within you must remain the constant. What's happening within you must remain the same at all time, at all cost. You must have that kind of control on yourself. You see, that's wisdom, that's liberty, that's being fearless, that's a state that which help you to achieve moksha, the goal of human life. If you are so adamant to find a purpose or goal, the goal of human life is basically to achieve, or in any form, the goal of human life or the life in any form is basically to achieve the prime consciousness, the supreme level of awareness, the supreme level of consciousness. And the manifestation of that state is the light. You see, you understand what I'm saying? The manifestation, the manifestation of that state is the light. There is the light at the end of the tunnel, you see. So the process is the tunnel, and the goal is the light. That when we achieve the supreme level of consciousness, when we achieve the supreme level of consciousness, when we achieve the prime level of awareness, the first manifestation of that kind of state is the light. You see, that's why remember something. I always tell you to remember the word remember. Remember something, that everything in this light, you see, light people confuse as God or Kahuna or Brahman. Light is not the Brahman. Light is produced when the Brahman breathes. You see, Brahman is the source. Brahman is the ultimate source that cannot be imagined, that cannot be smelled, that cannot be felt, that cannot be destroyed, that is omniscient and omnipresent. Even right now, I am experiencing Brahman. You see, of course, not to its fullest extent, because if human body cannot remain in that state. If you understand, somebody asked me, um, "What is God?" I said, "You cannot conceptualize God. You cannot think of it as an object." You understand what I'm saying? You can only experience it. You can only experience it. You can only dissolve in it. You see, God is rather a religious term for consciousness or self-awareness. Since I started this message, since I started delivering the words of truth and wisdom, whenever was it, not long ago, if you are paying attention and if your focus is intact, you realize everything is interconnected, whatever I'm saying. So rewatch this message and listen to the words of truth and wisdom again till it sinks in you and it starts resonate through you. So the conclusion, the bottom line of that is life is subject to change. Look at every opportunity as a way for you to transcend the karma. And the goal of human life, if we are so adamant to find, the goal is to achieve the prime level of consciousness, the supreme level of awareness, and the first manifestation of that awareness, the first manifestation of the supreme level of awareness is the light. You see, light is not God. Light is being given birth by when awareness interacts with itself. You can end your suffering in a blink of an eye if you have the free will. You see, you understand what I'm saying. As Lord Jiddu Krishnamurti said that you can end your suffering in a blink of an eye if you so wish, but it is very, very easy if you understand. But it is very, very easy to say, then it's done. You see, Krishnamurti, if you listen to his voice, if you listen to his message on YouTube, you can look him up on YouTube, Jiddu Krishnamurti. Jiddu Krishnamurti was Jaddu Krishnamurti was the greatest mystic of all times, you see, and he looked at life and he experienced life firsthand. And he said basically that you can end your suffering just like that. But it's very easier to say. It's easier to say just like that, you see, but it's very difficult to live by. But it's very possible. Jiddu Krishnamurti, the divinity in him you couldn't miss, but it's not the case of one lifetime. You understand? It's not the case of one lifetime. It's not the result of one lifetime. It takes numerous lifetimes to acquire that kind of wisdom. It takes numerous lifetimes to acquire that kind of divinity. That man lived with sacred every moment. You see, he passed on. Anyway, he would help you to bring clarity also. So I mentioned him. You can end your suffering just like that. It is very possible. As long as you do not form opinions about the change, as long as you do not resist the change, you see every barrier, you see every obstacle, you see every resistance as an opportunity for you to transcend the karma. You see, that's how a wise person conducts the process of her life and or his life. You see, that's the wisdom from the sages. If you just remain open to the change, you would go with the accord. You would go in the accord with life, you see. You would go in the accord with life. And if you are going in accord with life, there is no suffering, I can guarantee you. Nature becomes so happy when you learn to go. When you learn to go in accord with life, nature becomes so happy that nature does everything in its power to help, to push you gently, to help you evolve further, to give you peace, a sense of concrete fulfillment once you learn to go, once there is no friction. Friction starts when you learn to resist. You see, now you are not going in accord. You see, if there is a barrier, if there is a problem, I'm not asking you to not do anything about it. Do not confuse that with that scenario. I'm asking you, when you become totally detached, your very being becomes totally detached from any given situation. You learn to be calm. You see, when you become calm within, you can dissolve any issue, any obstacle, any barrier, any problem. You have clarity in your mind. You know how I know that? Because I do it all the time. That's how I know. I know it through my own experience, and if I can do it, so can you. Because real me, I mention it all the time, that real me and real, I mention it all the time, that real me and real you is the same. There is no difference between a real me and real you. Real me and real you is the same. That's one of the main significant reason I wanted to deliver this message. So you would learn, at least it would bring some clarity in your perception, and you would learn that not to get used to of the routine. You see, any obstacle, anything which threatens the routine, you freak out. Do not freak out. Look at it as an opportunity to trust in your karma, focus at it, and see what it is trying to teach me, what it is trying to tell me. You see, this is a different perspective. to look at life. But when you acquire that perspective, everything falls together. Life becomes so lighter, just like a feather. You see, you live in fulfillment and it with concrete peace at every moment, at every time. I'm not saying that you would have no problems. Every one of us would have problems, but we now are totally equipped. We, as human race, are now totally equipped, and we are basically guarded with the right tools. So whatever the situation arises, we are ready to face it. We are ready to learn something from it instead of hiding in the cocoon that we have built of the same routine every day. Some 9 to 5 job, working 5 days a week. Life is slipping under by, running after the money, chasing some fictional dreams and all that. You see, um, when you bang on it so much and you consider this is life, there obviously it is a given that you have formed attachments, you see, and the same routine wears you out. You see, the same safety zone, the same security zone, it wears you out after some time, and you start pondering, this is not it, there's got to be something more. You see, every day seems the same. Every everything seems like a routine. You are bored within, you are frustrated within, and then you want change profoundly. You want change subliminally. You see, that's the right word. You want change subliminally, where in the back of your very mind. You want change profoundly, you see. And then when the change happens, you start resisting it again and you come back to zero. So understand, the same cocoon you have built, the same routine life that you are living, it would wear you out at some point. You would become bored, and that's one of the point that you would start thinking, this is not it. There's got to be something more. There's got to be something more. The the only difference between a sage and extreme wise being, the only difference between a sage, the extreme wise being, and an average person is the distinction or the difference of one step further. You see, the sage, the wise man, is not scared. Hence, it's ready to take one more step further to see what, just one more step further to see, is there something else? You, if you understand why I'm saying to you, sometimes this wisdom that sits and pours out on me and people like me, sometimes it is a little challenging for us to clothe it with our words, because remember something, no word in the ultimate reality has any meanings. But however, the wisdom, the truth, it needs to be said, and the way, the medium we use are the words. You see, so a wise sage and an average person, the only difference they have between each other, wise person says, this is not it, and I know it. There's gotta be something more. This is not it. And wise person, the sage, is not scared to take that one step further and see what lies ahead. Or is there even something which lies ahead? You see, the wise person embraces the change and looks, the wise person totally involved in the change and looks internally, not physically or psychologically or conceptualizing it or thinking about it, none of that, but profoundly, but subliminally looks what lies ahead, or if there is something which lies ahead, because this is not it. And how does the sage does that? The sage does it through meditation, you see. The sage does it through Raja Yoga, through meditation, through Karma Yoga. All these are the tools. An average person says, this is it, 9 to 5. An average person says, this is life. You see, after some time, the average person becomes so delusional, unfortunately, that after some time, the average person becomes so delusional that the average person start believing their own lies, and they start telling more lies. I'm happy. I'm contented. When I'm saying an average person, I'm not saying it with any arrogance. You may not be even average person. You may be that sage even. You see, so that's why when I speak the words of truth and wisdom, it's not subject to one particular person. But if you see yourself in my words of truth and wisdom, and if you are not happy with the experience which is being generated with your previous karma, free your will and use it, and you can transcend the karma. You see, I give you tools time to time because I care about you. I love humanity. That's why I give you tools time to time. That's why I speak the words of truth and wisdom, that something may click in you. So ponder on what I said. That's how acquire the mind frame, acquire the awareness of the wise sage. You see, do not let yourself bone out with the same cocoon and routine. Start Raja Yoga, the Kriya meditation, the Karma Yoga, a small act of kindness towards other human and rest of the creation, and you would get there. You would get there. But the first thing, every journey starts from first step. I think I said that in my last video. But the first thing basically you have to do is to learn to sit, you see, and perform meditation, because I am stressing you just about nearly every day. I am stressing you I'm stressing you just nearly, namaskar, just about every day. I'm stressing you to do practical. I'm stressing you to perform meditation, because there is no result without practical, you see. You see what I'm saying? Ponder on what I said. If you have any confusions, ponder ponder on what I said. If you have any confusions, if you are perplexed about something, if you misunderstood something, you can write me and I will clarify. My services for the humankind are free. I earn my own living. I don't need anything from you, because I know how much you are attached to your money. I know that. I understand your feelings are sensitive. Specifically when it comes down to money. You see, I don't need your money. Just ponder, be with me, learn something from it. Learn and see what this meditator, what this yogi is trying to tell me, what this wise man is trying to say to me. You see, children of the land, listen to the voice man, take my hand. So, children of the land, listen to the wise man. Children of the land, listen to the wise man and take my hand. You see, we all of us are children of this land, all of us. You know what I mean? All of us, each one of us is the child of this land. This earth, this land is the mother. So, yeah, ponder on the words of truth and wisdom and write me if you have any confusions, you see, and do practical. Shh. Learn to be silent. Don't forget that. Oh. Oh. Oh.